Here is my paper here. I've taped out my little tape border, and my paper measures, the pad itself is 9 by 12, and then the taped area measures 6 by 8. You can use whatever size you want. That is just what kind of fits best on the camera here. And then my paints are Winsor&Newton. These are professional watercolor paints, but you absolutely don't need professional watercolor paints to join me or to just paint on your own. I am a professional artist, so this is something that I can spend, a little bit more money on, but if, just buy whatever's in your budget and it will work perfectly fine. Here are all my colors. And then my brushes are from Princeton Neptune. I really highly recommend these brushes. They last so long, and I have zero problems with them, like shedding hairs or anything like that, and they keep their shape. I've had these brushes for like 2 years. So if you're looking for some new brushes, these are great options, called Princeton Neptune. All of my art supplies, including ones that I'm not showing here, are linked in my Amazon storefront, which is in my bio. So if you want my recommendations on art supplies, you can check that out as well. We're going to be painting this little sailboat today. This is just a little sketch that I did in my sketchbook with 4 other paintings. But we're going to be focusing on just the sailboat today. This is actually a fairly simple painting, and I'm going to teach you how to do it. And yes, you can see the colors one more time while I do my little discussion. Here are the colors. It's lemon yellow, cadmium orange, yellow ochre, burnt sienna, cadmium red, alizarin crimson, magenta, sap green, hooker's green, turquoise, cerulean, phthalo blue, ultramarine, indigo, Van Dyke brown, Payne's gray. There you go. Say that 10 times fast. So the first thing that we need to do is put a little drop of water in each of our colors. We may not use all of our colors today, but that just helps it to start to dissolve and get ready to be painted with. So go ahead and do that now. I actually just recently cleaned out my watercolor palette, or my watercolor set here, so you're getting a nice clean version. Normally this thing is a mess. And then one little note before we get started is I do try to go at a pace that works for everybody. So I try to be, slow down, and feel free to comment if you need me to slow down, but I do have to kind of try to get through this in an hour. So there might be some times where I just need to move on. The recording of this will be uploaded to YouTube. So if you want to watch it later, if you don't want to paint along with me, but you want to watch it later, you can find it there. My YouTube account is linked in my bio. And then, if you do happen to fall behind, you can always catch up with the last instructions there. And then the other note that I always say, just to, start, is painting is a hard thing to do. It is a skill that you need to develop like anything else. So if this is your first time, or if you're a beginner with watercolor, don't put too much pressure on yourself to make like a quote unquote good painting. We are just here to enjoy it, have fun, and maybe learn something new if you want to. So just try and, give yourself that grace and just enjoy the process without stressing too much about the outcome, You missed one next to the turquoise. I don't ever use that color, honestly. I just skip over it. So I missed it on purpose. Okay, so on our paper, the first thing that we need to do is find our horizon line. We're going to put it just a little bit below halfway up the paper. So I've got 8 inches on the vertical side here. So I'm going to go with like 3 inches on either side, 3 inches from the bottom. And that's where my horizon line is going to be. You can use a ruler, or you can just sketch it. It just should be a relatively straight line. And then if you have tape around, let's put a piece of tape at that horizon line. And this will give us a straight horizon line. Because we're painting water, the horizon is perfectly straight. So it's important to get that in watercolor. So I like to put just a little piece of tape across there. So everything above this is my sky. Everything below this top line is the ocean. Okay, so I'll give you a minute to do that. And then as we go through here, if you have any questions or comments or concerns, feel free to put them in the comments. I will try to answer everything that I can. I do have to paint and talk at the same time though, so if I miss your question, I apologize. Feel free to ask again. And if someone asks a question that I've already answered, feel free to answer for me. But do be nice. This is just a fun, relaxing time. Trolls will be blocked, so I have no problem doing that. So have a good attitude. Okay, so if you're ready to go, I'm going to move this over so you can see my color palette now. We're going to mix 2 colors for the sky section. We need a blue color and a gray color, and then I will swatch these for you. So let me grab some extra watercolor paper for the swatches. And you'll need a big brush as well, so use your biggest brush that you have. And mix together your sky blue. I like to mix together phthalo blue and ultramarine blue. That's just the preferred sky color that I like. But if you have like a sky blue in your palette, that'll work just fine. And just mix some on your palette here. And we're gonna keep this a pretty strong color, so don't mix too much water into that. Yes, this will be available on my YouTube channel afterwards. I usually upload these later in the day after they're over. And my YouTube account is linked in my bio, so you can find it there. So there's the blue. You can see a pretty strong, vibrant blue. Mix that up. Okay, and the other color is gray. I have Payne's gray in my palette, so I'm just going to use that. It's a lovely, cool gray. If you don't have gray, just mix black and blue together. That'll work just fine. And again, add a little water, but not too much. We want a pretty strong color. So there's our two colors, blue and gray. So mix those up. We are going to do a wet on wet technique today for the sky, which is my favorite way to paint a sky. You'll be surprised and impressed with yourself at how easy the sky is, I promise. Okay. So the general idea is to put down a layer of water in the entire sky section, and then we're going to go in with those colors that we just mixed and kind of put them in there randomly, let them swirl around a little bit, and then use a dry brushing technique to pick up some clouds. So I'll go through all of that. I do have to do all of these things kind of at the same time, so I will give you time afterwards to catch up with that, okay? So the first step is to take your large brush and your cup of water and just put a layer of water all over the sky section. No need to be neat and tidy, especially because you've got that tape there. Just fill it in. And you want a good layer of water. You don't want it to dry out too fast, but you also don't want huge puddles. But you want to trend toward more water than less, so that the colors have a chance to move around a bit. And if you tilt your head, you can see the light reflecting off of that wet paper, and you can see if you've missed anything. Okay. So now that that is all filled in with water, you're going to start with your blue, load up your brush with blue, and start at the top, and just put down some like sort of swooping brush strokes. We're going to keep a few layers or a few areas of white here, and just kind of work our way to the bottom with these sort of crisscross swoopy strokes. You can put some dots in there too. Doesn't really matter. And then once you've gotten to the bottom, you're going to wipe off your brush, switch the gray, and do the same thing. Put in some gray in the same way. Feel free to overlap the blue. Make sure you keep a few light spots there. Go all the way down to the horizon line there. Something like that. Okay. And then, once you've done that, you can pick up your paper, as long as you haven't taped it to the table, and pick it up and sort of hold it in different directions. And this will make the color sort of blend together and blend with the white areas that you've left on the paper. So just kind of hold it in different directions for a few seconds. And you can see that that color is starting to blend. So I'm just going to keep doing that until I like the way that the colors look. Just kind of rotate it in a slow circle. If you taped your paper to the table, you can use a damp brush to do the same thing. Okay, I think I like that. And now, before it dries completely, I'm going to dry off my brush completely with a paper towel, and then just start kind of bouncing it around in those light spots and forming cloud shapes. So I'm going to keep drying off my brush. I just kind of pinch it between my paper towel and bouncing it on the paper to create some clouds. You can do this with a paper towel as well, but I find that the brush gives me a little bit more accuracy, so I prefer to use a brush, but you can use whatever you like. So just add in some sort of bouncy little cloud shapes. Something like that. And you can only do this while the paper is still wet. So you got to kind of move quickly here so that you can pick up these clouds. And there will be a point where you've done too much. So keep in mind, you don't want to make clouds everywhere because then it won't really translate. So just add some, and you can always go over those spots again to make them a little bit lighter. And I like that. Those little areas right there are really fun, where you can see the defined clouds there. Magic! Hi, Mom. How's it going? Okay, I think I'm going to leave it there. Once you're happy, just leave it alone. And I will give you a few seconds to catch up with that, a minute or two, I should say. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments. I feel like I'm using the wrong brush. I only get very streaky strokes. So that might be because you're using a brush that is too small. This is a 1/2-inch brush, and it is good for this kind of size, but if I was going any bigger, then I would use an even bigger brush. So if you're working with a small brush, you can sometimes get those streaky strokes. So try using a larger brush next time. What tape do you use? It is from Blick. Let me see. It's just from Blick Art Supplies, which is a art supply store. You can find it there. It's like $3. My paper is all warped from the water. Is that the paper? Maybe too much water. Nope, the watercolor paper will always warp. Does not really matter. You can see mine is bent there. You can see it's bent in the middle. That is just a thing that happens in watercolor. It's something you just got to accept and ignore. I used my biggest brush. Okay. Sometimes it can depend on the paint. Sometimes just with practice, you'll kind of get better at that. So don't beat yourself up about it. It just happens sometimes. Lovely clouds. Thank you so much. And then once you're done with your clouds, you can take off that tape that you put at the horizon line if you used it. It's always a nice, satisfying part of that. So do you recommend those brushes with a water reservoir? Yes, I do for like small sketches and stuff. I have one here, but you can see how small this brush is. Like this is the largest one I've ever seen. And you can see compared to my brush that I just used, how much smaller it is, right? So if you're doing something, a big painting, I wouldn't recommend these, but if you're just doing sketching or like a small painting, these are great. Or traveling or something like that. So yeah, it just kind of depends on what you're doing. Hello, just joined. Hello, good to see you. Okay, let me know in the comments. Are you guys ready to move on? Do you need another minute or two? Happy to give you time if you need to catch up. I'm just joining this and I'm devastated because I'm always desperate for how to paint clouds like this. I will be uploading this lesson to my YouTube channel, which is linked in my bio, so you can find it there later today. Yeah. Take a sip of your drink as well. Relax. Don't get too tense. I need a little bit more time, please. All right, sounds good. Anybody have any questions, comments, concerns? I will tell you a little fun story, which is that the reason why this is really exciting, the reason why I stopped doing paint and sips the past 7 months is because I was actually working on a book. I have made a watercolor book, a how-to watercolor book, with a small publishing company called Page Street Publishing, and it will be out next April. So I just finished all the paintings and the manuscript and everything. I turned that all in on Monday, so we're going to go back and forth editing it until the end of the year. But it was taking up a lot of my time, and it was kind of the same thing as what I do at Paint and Sip. So I just couldn't do both at the same time. So just wanted to let you guys know that. I haven't announced it anywhere. So this is, I guess, the announcement. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm very excited for y'all to see it and to paint with me in a book form next year. Thank you all. I really appreciate it. I will be making more announcements and doing more, promo for it once the date gets closer. But I just wanted to let you guys know that's why Paint and Sip hasn't been happening for 7 months or so. Thank you guys. You're all so sweet. All right, cool. I'm seeing some dones, so we will go ahead and move on. So the next thing we're going to do is fill in the ocean section. So let's mix a few colors here. We're going to do a nice sort of blue, green, gray ocean. So we're going to use the same color that you used for the sky, but we're going to water that down a fair amount. And thank you all for the congratulations. I'm reading those comments as I'm talking. I'm going to add a little bit more ultramarine blue, but I'm just going to water down this sky color so we get a really light blue. Okay, and then we're going to do a dark blue. I'm going to mix a little bit of indigo into that Payne's gray, but mostly indigo. So just whatever dark blue you have will work, or blue plus black. And then, let's see, let's do kind of a blue-green. That sounds kind of fun. So let's do sap green plus a little, like phthalo blue. Kind of a dark turquoise color. And we're going to add water to that too. Just a few. You don't have to match my colors exactly. Just put enough, just a couple ocean colors. That is fine. Where's your palette from? It is from Winsor&Newton. So there's that blue-green color. That's a really pretty color. I like that. And then here's that sky blue color. It's important to use the sky blue color just because it'll pull the sky into the water reflection. So there's that sky blue color, just watered down. And then here's that dark blue. There we go. Okay, so those are the colors that we're going to use. Very nice color palette there, if I say so myself. All right, so we're going to work from light to dark while we're doing this, okay? And you want to continue using your large brush. You're going to be brave. So we're going to start with that light blue, and then we're going to go to our blue-green and then our dark blue. Words. So start with that light blue and load up your brush with that light blue, and then you're going to touch your paper towel with your brush to take off some of that color. Okay, you're going to take off like a good amount of the color. Then we're going to hold the brush like almost parallel to the paper here, and you're just going to lightly scrape your brush in a horizontal fashion here across the paper. And if you can see, we'll zoom you in here, that paint is sort of breaking over the watercolor paper texture. And you're just going to do this so lightly. You're going to like try not to touch the paper really. And I like to kind of start from the sides as well. Just continue sort of dry brushing this texture until your brush runs all the way out of color. Okay, and this will give you the effect of sort of light and ripples and stuff in the distance. So we're just going to keep working with that light blue, keep working with these horizontal strokes, and we're going to fill in the most area with this light blue color. Occasionally, if you want, you can use the tip of your brush as well to just add some straight lines. That's totally fine too, to mix that in. And then you can go back to the dry brushing technique and just sort of keep building up that color. And just make sure you're leaving some areas that are white, that are not painted over. Okay, so something like that. The congrats were for, I have created a book. I've created a watercolor book, and so that is why I was not doing paint and sips for a while. And I turned in the book manuscript and paintings on Monday, so that is why we are back. I won't be doing paint and sips every week. I've got a lot of travel coming up soon, so the next one will be in August, about a month from now. Sorry. but I figured you guys would want to join me for one here since I could do it this week. Okay, there we go. I'm going to leave that there. Are the paints you use expensive? I would say they're on the higher end of watercolor paints, but I am a professional artist, so that is an expense, and it's a business expense, really. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend it to everybody who just wants to start painting, but if it's something that you can afford, that's totally cool. Okay, so finish up your blue, putting that light blue in there, and then you're going to switch to your aqua green color. And we're going to do the same thing. Yes, I am intentionally leaving more white in the center. That draws the focus to the center. It's also kind of where that highlight would be if you're looking at this in real life. But if you didn't do that, that's okay. I kind of forgot to explain that, so that's my bad. Yes, the paint sips are uploaded to YouTube. My account is linked in my bio, so you can find me there. Okay, so now let's start adding some of this aqua green in certain places. You don't have to wait for that blue to dry. It's kind of fun to have those colors mixed together a little bit. And we're going to focus this kind of in the bottom 2/3 of this water section here. Don't go all the way to the top with this color. You want that section up there light. And like I said, I'm kind of switching between the dry brushing technique and just using the tip of my brush to add those little horizontal lines in there too. Don't want to cover up all of the blue as well. I want to leave some there. Okay. And then last one, use that dark, dark blue. Again, take some of that off with your paper towel and just use this fairly sparingly in the bottom 1/3 of the painting. I'm going to wait for that surrounding stuff to dry a little bit so I can add a little texture on top. How long is this taking you? We've painted for about 22 minutes so far. Yes, this brush is linked to my Amazon favorites along with all of the other Princeton brushes. I love them so much. And one little note, just for, self-promo and plug that I've got to do. If you're enjoying this tutorial and you'd like to leave me a little tip, there is a link in my bio. And if you click that, there will be a tab in there that says tip jar. So if you'd like to leave me a little, $5, $10 or whatever for this lesson, you're welcome to do that. That is linked in my bio. These are always free, but if you do want to tip me, that is always appreciated. My Etsy store is also linked in my bio, so if you want to check out the paintings that I sell, please go check that out, even if you don't want to buy anything right now. It's just good to know for if you want to buy a gift or want to buy some art later, stuff like that. And then my Patreon is also linked to my bio. I do monthly art tutorials there. I've even done those while I've been doing my book, and those are not always watercolor. Those are sometimes gouache or acrylic. Sometimes they are watercolor as well. So if you want some extra tutorials from me, you can check out my Patreon. I also send out some fun gifts for my patrons there too. So just check out the link in my bio if you're enjoying this and want to support me in any way. That would always be very appreciated. Okay, so now that the sides have dried a little bit, I'm just going to add a little bit more dry brushing texture to the sides with this dark, dark blue. All right, I think we're going to leave that there. Yep, this will be posted to YouTube later. My YouTube channel is linked to my bio as well. Yes, this is a paint and sip. Welcome. All right, so that's what this looks like so far. Let me know where you're at with your painting in the comments. If you're ready for me to move on, or if you need another minute or two, just let me know. Or if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. Yes, I love the dry brushing technique. It works so well with water like this. But are you sipping? Yes, I'm sipping on a Spindrift. How are you doing the dry brush? So you put the color on your brush, and then you're going to touch the brush to your paper towel and take some of the color off, and then hold it almost parallel to your paper and sort of lightly scrape it along the paper. Really, really lightly. What size brush? It is a 1/2 inch oval brush. See that there? It's one of my favorite. It's just kind of a, I don't know, I guess an oval shape that you would call that. So it's flat on the sides, and then it's this sort of rounded shape. Mine doesn't look anything like dry brushing. That's okay. This is just maybe the first time you're trying this, and I promise it takes a lot of practice. Not a lot of practice, but it does take practice. So don't beat yourself up too much about it. It's almost counterintuitive to use dry brush for water, but it's making so much sense. I know, it is kind of counterintuitive, but I love the texture that it makes. I think it looks really great for oceans and sort of rough water especially. Okay, as you're waiting here, feel free to clean off your palette, because we are going to add the sailboat next, which is going to be our final little detail there, but it's going to take the most sort of detail work. So we're going to get going on that pretty soon here. I think I added too much water. That's okay. Next time you'll know to add a little bit less water. It's a learning experience. They're back. Back for now, yep. Not another one until August, just because I am traveling for the next few weeks. But yes, Paint Sips will be back more regularly than they were before. No, we're not doing another one after this. We're painting a sailboat on top of this one, on top of this painting. Can buy this? Sure. I mean, so if you stick around to the end, this sketchbook is now filled. So I'll go through all the paintings in here, and I will be posting them on my Etsy, probably in the next week or so. Alrighty, so let's get to the sailboat here. We need a dark gray. So if you have black, that's fine. Maybe mix a little bit of blue into it. I'm using Payne's Gray. Here, I'll move this over here. So some nice dark gray. This will be for the hull of the boat. Then let's mix together sort of a light yellowish gray. So I'm going to use yellow ochre and some Payne's Gray there too. Ochre and maybe a little burnt sienna just to make it more orange. Just kind of a nasty gray color, but this will be watered down significantly. This is for the sails. Actually, no, ignore me. Make a light bluish gray for the sails. I don't want that. I don't want to mess up the color palette we have going here. So a little bit of blue and a little bit of gray for the sails. And lots of water. Just keep adding water in there. When will the book be out? It'll be out next April, and it will be available in all major bookstores, which is very exciting, and on Amazon. But I will be posting about that a lot in the next 6 to 8 months, so you will not miss it. Yep, this video will be on YouTube. Yeah, I think those are the only two colors that we need. Excuse me. Okay, so here's that dark gray color. There. And then the light gray color. There you go. So those two colors for the sailboat. Okay. So pick out where you want your sailboat to be. If you want to sketch it out real quick, you can. I'm just going to kind of freehand it on here. But I would recommend sort of a little under halfway up the ocean section here. And we're just going to start with that dark gray and make a line going across. And then in the back of the boat, it's just going to be a line straight up. And then in the front of the boat, the line will be a little bit curved outward. And you can finish that little rectangle there. Just fill it in. I'm using my detail brush for this as well. Something like that. This is where you got to be brave. Then let's do kind of a medium gray, so something in between those two colors that we mixed. I'm just going to water down this dark gray that we just used a little bit. And I'm going to use that to add a little bit of like a cabin here. So I'm just going to kind of do a rounded shape on top of the hull of the boat. Okay. Then we can have a mast coming up from the boat. I'm going to kind of pick out where I want it to. Actually, we'll start it down here. We'll start. Where are they usually? Probably right in the middle. And we want a pretty thin line. Don't worry if it's not perfectly straight. Just kind of do your best. Sketch it out. Let's go up to about there. Okay, you can see my line is not perfectly straight. There's some little imperfections here. We will fix those later or cover them up later. But don't try to like fix them and make your mast wider as you go. Just let it be. Okay. Now you get to decide where you want the sail to go. I prefer to have it sort of going across the paper, have the wind kind of going across the paper this way. So I'm going to use a larger brush and just sort of fill in this is a really light gray. I might have to darken this a little bit. Sort of curved shape. If you'd like to do the classic triangle shape, you're welcome to. I like to do this sometimes. I'm going to drop in a little extra gray there, just so it's visible against the background. And I don't know if this is completely accurate, but it's my painting, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, and then switching back to the small brush, we can just add some like sailing bits. So I might add like a horizontal thing here, maybe some like rigging and lines. We could do like a line going down here to the front of the boat, a couple of those. When you're painting these lines, it's important to have a light touch. They don't have to be painted all the way through, you know. You can have some breaks in there. That'll make it look like a really thin rope. We could do a couple of like bars that kind of come out from the mast here. Feel free to just kind of improvise here, whatever you feel looks good. Oftentimes a lot of lines kind of adds to the effect. Maybe pause for a bit. I'm still on the sail. I'm not really like, these are things that you can kind of do. I'm just going to kind of suggest these things. You don't have to do any or all of them, but it's just kind of an improv thing. There we go. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. Once the sail dries, you can add a little bit more detail on the sail if you like. Some lines going across it or little, shadows or details or something like that. So feel free to do that once the sail dries. I will probably do that a little bit later. Okay, and now we're going to do the part that makes it really look realistic, which is the shadow in the water. So get more of that dark gray, the same color that we used for the hull of the boat. Maybe water it down slightly, but not too much. And then, are we ready or do we need another minute? I can wait another minute. Let me know. The paper is Strathmore watercolor paper. And where do you get inspiration to paint your beautiful bookmarks? Thank you very much. I take a lot of reference photos in my daily life. If I see a plant or a landscape or something that inspires me, I just take a picture of it. And then when I'm ready to paint, I just go back through my camera roll and find what I am inspired to paint that day. Go ahead, I need a minute. Okay, we'll wait 1 minute just so that everyone has a chance. Again, I'm going to plug my stuff because you're a captive audience here. If you want to click on that link in my bio, there are a couple tabs in there that are important. There's one that is called Tip Jar, so if you want to leave me a little tip or a gift for today's painting, you can through that little tab. It makes it really easy. There's also my Etsy shop that is linked in my bio, so if you want to get to my shop where I sell all of my paintings, check that out. I've got bookmarks, anything from stickers, bookmarks, stuff like that, to larger paintings. I also have my Patreon linked in my bio, so check that out as well if you want to support me monthly and get some art and extra tutorials. And then my YouTube channel is also linked in my bio, so if you want to check out this paint and sip and all of my previous ones, you can check out my YouTube channel. There you go. There's the plugs. All right, so with the dark gray color, we are going to basically create a mirror image of at least the bottom of the sailboat here, but with wiggly lines. So I'm just going to kind of use a detail brush and some wiggly lines and create a mirror image. I'm going to leave just a little sliver of paper between the sailboat and the reflection, just in a few places to separate them, and then I'll fill in the rest. Okay. And then sticking with that dark gray, you're going to create a wavy line right underneath the mast. So I'm just going to kind of go like this. There's that mast reflection. And then you can use a watered down gray and just kind of add a little bit of a shadow here, again with wavy lines, for the sail. I think that bit really brings it to life there. Okay, so finish up painting that little reflection there. I might add a few extra details to the sail here. Sometimes sails have these like little rectangles on them as decoration. So we can put some of those on there. I don't know, anything you want can go on here. You could also add a little window or two down here if you wanted to. Just some other options for you as you complete your painting. All right, I think I'm going to call that good. You can continue working on your painting. Obviously, you do not have to be done now just because I am. And again, all of these instructions will be on YouTube, so if you didn't quite finish, you can just go back to this video and check this out. Finish up your painting. Taking off the tape is always the best part. Feel free to let me know how you did in the comments as well. And if you'd like to send me a picture of your painting, you can do that on Instagram. Same handle as TikTok. I'd love to see your finished painting. I may not reply to everybody, but I promise I do look at everything. There we go. And I will also look through the rest of this. I'll do a little flip through of the rest of this sketchbook if you'd like to stick around and see that. If you find your tape is ripping your paper, heat it up with a hairdryer for a few seconds before you peel it. That should help. And I will go ahead and sign this as well. Let's see, where have I been doing that? Okay. There we go. I used a way bigger page. Yeah, I'm telling you, you gotta. This paper's only, this is 6x8 here. That's the size of that. All right, so there's that finished painting. I quite like this. I think that turned out really nicely. All right, let's flip through the rest of these. They will be, I'll probably post them on Etsy this week or so, if you'd like to check out these other paint and sips. These were all from Paint and Sips. There's sunflower. Got some starfish. Mine doesn't resemble yours. That's okay. It doesn't have to. As long as you had fun and maybe learned something, that's all that matters. Little English countryside there. This is a little Colorado mountain scene. Yes, all these paint and sips are on YouTube. Feel free to check those out. Pumpkin one, this is for, we did this in September, but apparently I was excited to paint some pumpkins. That's got a nice copper border around it. Here's another fall landscape. Another fall landscape. Really lean into the fall. More fall trees. I like the background of this one. That was fun. Some northern lights. Some trees, snow-covered trees with a little gold on the stars there. This one, I got the reference photo from Unsplash, I think, but it's somewhere in Ireland or Scotland. And then we come to today's. It's fun to look back on those because those were done like 7 months ago, and I feel like I've improved, so it's fun. Can you plug yourself a bit more, where to find more lessons and where to send our result? Absolutely. You can find all of these lessons on YouTube. My YouTube channel is linked in my bio. You can send me your finished painting if you'd like me to see it on Instagram. Feel free to post it on your story and tag me as well. I'll repost it on my story, and I can get a little art gallery going that way. Let's see, my Etsy shop is in my bio, linked in my bio as well. So if you click on that link in my bio, it's a link tree. There's a bunch of options in there. My Etsy store is in there. So if you'd like to shop my bookmarks, prints, postcards, paintings, finished paintings, and all that stuff, you can check that out. If you'd like to leave me a tip or a gift, that is always super appreciated. These are free, but I do enjoy tips. It makes it kind of more worth my time because I'm a full-time artist. And so if you'd like to do that, if you click on the link in my bio, there's a tab in there called Tip Jar, and that makes it super easy. Or you can just do PayPal, which is linked to my bio as well, or Venmo, which is listed in my bio, if you'd prefer. But that tip jar thing does make it a little bit easier. And then Patreon is also linked to my bio, if you want to check me out on Patreon for more lessons like this, not always with watercolor, and some bonus art that you get every month that is also very fun and appreciated. So I think we'll say goodbye